Hey there, welcome to Form Simplicity. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about putting together a transaction between you and your client here to be able to turn it in at Future Home Realty using Form Simplicity. So let's get started. There's a couple ways you can find Form Simplicity. One is to go to floridarealtors.org and log in there, and you can go directly to Form Simplicity. Not really recommended because it's a lot easier. Everybody's in the MLS. So the best way to do it is when you log into your MLS, you're going to be in there anyway. So down here in the external links, you'll find a spot that says log into Form Simplicity. So when you click on that, it should open you up and take you directly in because you've already logged into Matrix. So therefore it'll take you directly into it and you don't have to log in a second time. They are linked. Form Simplicity and Matrix are linked. So you'll see some times in here where you can actually look up stuff from the MLS forms and when you're dealing with contracts, putting those together between a buyer. So those you'll be able to start transactions in Form Simplicity directly from the MLS. So you can come in from the backside doing it that way, or you can go in and just start a new file. First thing you should do though, before you get started on putting transactions together, is put yourself together packages. And that's this section right here, these forms packages. Those are what you're going to want to put together. They're basically templates that you put together and you can reuse over and over and over again for contracts, listings, pretty much, leases, anything you want. And you can put the forms in there that you'll normally use, and you can always take some out or add some more to it. But that just gets you the main package started, and you can kind of go from there and build your transaction from there, which would be your active transactions. I'll shoot through these tabs at the top real quick. The home page, if you ever get lost, hit on the home page. It'll take you back here where you have your four main tabs. Library, that's where you can find forms. If you're switched over to Future Home Realty already, you will see when you click on these, they expand and break down. But once you're switched over to Future Home Realty, you're going to see the company forms, which are the Future Home Realty forms. They're going to be in here. Those are specific to our company, as they all start with FHR. And then after it is the description of, they're in alphabetical order, but there's the description of what they are. So you can kind of find whatever you need going that way. If you also look in here, you will see, for the people in Jacksonville, you will see Northeast Florida Association, Florida Realtor forms, that everyone's going to see that. MLS for Stellar, that's down in the Tampa and Orlando areas and in between. So that's anybody that's part of Stellar MLS. So those are those specific forms. And then Fannie Mae forms. So one thing you should do is get familiar with these forms and how to find them. Just before we get started in here, I just want to make a very important tidbit of information. When you're trying to find a form, keyword search only. One word, the root word would be the best. For example, everyone is going to be submitting a broker relationship, some form of broker relationship in their file. So just type in broker. And you'll see that when you type that in and you hit find, it's going to expand and you'll be able to go down this list and you'll be able to see like the broker relationships are right here. So you got no brokerage relationship, single agent with consent to transition. That one will have the transaction broker relationship on page 3 of that. So if for those of you who want to act as a transaction broker from the start, that's where you would go, is you would grab that one because it has all 3 pages. It has the single agent, it has the consent to transition to transaction broker, and it has the transaction broker notice. So just a little bit on that. That's the one you would want to use if you start as a transaction broker. Single agent, you can just grab that one, or you can, if you're willing to switch, say you have the seller, and if you get the buyer yourself and you want to transition to transaction broker, you would do the whole thing, a whole packet. You would do the single agent, the consent to transition to transaction broker, and the transaction broker notice. So those 3, you can just have them sign the single agent to start out, and then have the other 2 and send them over to them when if that incident occurs and you do get the buyer yourself. So All right. But keyword search though, don't put a space in and try to type in a second word or try to get too elaborate with the words, because you'll have a lot harder time finding what you're looking for. Like the wire fraud prevention notice. If you just type in wire, it comes right up and you'll see it's right there. That is a Florida Realtor form. So, but if you type in too much, and you don't word it correctly, it'll never find it. So it's better just to do a keyword search, single word, root word only would be great, and you'll have a lot more luck. Okay, so back to these tabs. So that's the library and all the different forms and things that you can find. I will make a note that on each page, you will see these watch video. So when you go to different sections, you're going to find, like if you go to archive, up here, play archive transaction video, right? So you're going to see that right there. That is if you get confused and this training isn't enough for you, you can just play that video and it's going to tell you what to do on this page. So anyway, all right, that was a quick note. But let's go back to the tabs. Archive, you can see these are transactions that have pretty much closed and they move off, and then you don't want to see them anymore unless you want to go look for them. They're going to be there. Your contacts, you're going to be able to load your contacts in here. You can batch load them if you want, or you can put people in separately. Just type them in one at a time. So there's ways to do that. Packages, these are going to be your packages. That's different packages you're going to create. I'm going to show you how to make those today. But you can get to it from right there, as well as the homepage. I typically use the homepage for the packages and the transactions. But there's the packages. Tasks, this is like setting yourself alarms for things you have to do and when they're coming due, and kind of like reminders and stuff like that. I don't typically use that much myself, but if you want to use it, that's there. Clauses, these are going to be clauses that either Future Home Realty creates themselves and makes them available brokerage wide. So for all of our agents, you're going to see the ones that we create at the admin level. So the brokerage ones will be up here. Then you can create yourself ones down here in your personal. You can create anytime you want to create a clause that you're going to reuse over and over. It's like when you worded something just perfectly and you don't want to have to keep looking it up over and over again. Make it a clause for yourself. That way you can just use it on every deal. So if you're asking for closing costs to be paid by the seller and you have it worded just rightly, just perfect one time, you're going to want to make it a clause. That way you can reuse it over and over and over again. It's just going to be it's going to be a time saver for you is what it's going to be. And then our Future Home one, we've created one so far. This one's the repair addendum clause. So this repair addendum, I'm just going to show it to you real quick as a preview. This one is to add to a addendum to contract, which would be a blank addendum. If anybody refers to it, we call it the blank addendum, but it's an addendum to contract. It's just blank. And then you would insert this clause. You would click on the blank space and then insert clause. And then you can edit it once it's on there. But this one covers all the bases for when you're asking for repairs, typically on an as-is contract. So this is what you would want to put on that and where you could ask for repairs. The top section being repairs that need a licensed company to do. And then the bottom or the middle section, or whatever, the second section would be the ones that you're allowing the seller to fix themselves. If they're just simple stuff. So you can delete a section. If you don't have any of those, you can delete them and just use the other ones. But I'll let you read through the whole the whole clause when you get a chance at another time. But that's going to be a really good one that you can use over and over again to ask for repairs. And it covers all the bases. So, my files, these are just ones that, I create, but I don't use them that much. So I stay out of there. Feedback. These my files are ones that the best description for those are the ones that I upload from my computer. Like I'm trying to add outside forms that I'm going to use and be able to add to my transactions. I can create my own little add-ons if I want to. So then we've got feedback. That's if you want to send feedback back to and submit it to Form Simplicity for changes. If you think something's going to work better, you can let them know that. Help is going to be all your videos. So if you click on help, it'll take you to a new page, but it's once you're in here, you got all the videos, the how-to videos. So this is where they're all like stationed. Although, between these trainings and these short tutorials. Although, like I said before, each page kind of has its own thing on it. So how do we put deals together? Very easy. If you think about form simplicity, it is basically this. If I can open it. Everybody has their file explorer on their computer. So it's folders, and then when you open them, there's more folders and or documents in them. That's basically all form simplicity is you're creating folders and you're uploading documents into them. So you've got packages, and that's templated folders, and then you create a transaction from that folder. So that's a new folder within that folder. It's just called a transaction, and it's 123 Elm Street or 456 Oak Street or whatever address is, and then you upload your forms into it. That's basically all you're doing. It's just file storage, but you're able to fill out things and have stuff signed, and we'll get through all that. So in order to create your forms package, you want to create these first based on our checklist. If you go to Paperless Pipeline, this is one spot where you can find our checklist. If you go to Paperless Pipeline and log in into your account, you can go to the reference tab. And in the reference tab, you'll see all the FHR checklists. They're all right there at the top. So you can just print them all out, set them next to you, and then go back to Form Simplicity and start putting your packages together. You can also go to library. We also have the checklist in the library under the FHR forms. So if you type in checklist, and hit find, there's all our checklists again. And there's this one from FRAC, but there's our stuff right there. So you'll see they're all started with FHR. So you can print off all the checklists from here as well, just so you know. All right. So once you have a checklist open, I'm going to open one virtually. So I'm going to say checklist for residential listing agreement. I'll have that, pretend like it's printed. It's next to me. These are all the pages that I need. So I'm going to have this sitting down next to me. I can see all these things that I'm going to need. We also have the optional section. These documents are based on the property, basically subject to the property. If it's a lead-based paint, short sale, CDD, homeowner, it's a HOA, a condo. So just know that. All right. So under the packages, when you open this page, over here on the right, you can create new forms package. I've created some already, but we're going to skip these. I do want to make note of one thing, is that when they update the forms, which they do pretty much twice a year, they update the Florida Realtor forms. Typically the changes take place in January, and they're usually submitted to the, for realtor consumption like March and April. That is when all the revisions come out. And then again, when our August meetings happen, they're usually in like October. You get the new forms out. Sometimes they come out a little bit earlier. It depends how easy the change is. So they'll put them out as fast as possible, but usually by October, they're all done. So anyway, when they do update them, they don't automatically update your packages. What they do is they give you this little button telling you that there's new forms that new forms based on the forms that I've got in this package. The ones that I have in here, something has changed. So all I got to do is hit this button right here, update forms package, and it'll put the new ones in and replace, and take out the old ones. So you'll always have the most updated forms, which is great. All right. So let's create a forms package. So create a new package. When you click on that, you just have to name it. You can name it whatever you want. Names are totally up to you because this is all your stuff. So you just, whatever's easiest for you to find. So I want to do a listing. So and then you can do it like mine over here, where I did the listings as either condo, residential, or vacant land. I've also got sales contracts. I got condo, residential, vacant land, but I also have new construction because that's a separate checklist. So I could make it that way. I can just say residential. Okay. Hit save. That's going to give me basically my folder here. There's not going to be anything in it yet because I haven't loaded anything. So I can just click on it. There it is right there. Once I've opened it, we're in it now. You can see that by the title up here. I can see this is a form package listing residential template. So this forms package I need to add files to. How do I do that? It's down here. Add forms to the forms package. So now this is where I'm going to search everything that's on this checklist. So I just click on that. We know it's a listing, so I can just type in the word listing, hit find, and let's start there. It's going to, when you do a search on this find section up here, it's going to search all the forms, every single section, all of it. It doesn't matter whether it's company or Florida Realtors or NEFAR or whatever. It's going to search it all. So you're going to have everything come up. That's anything with the word listing in the title is going to come up. So now I just shoot down the list. These top ones for the people in the Tampa Bay, Orlando, Stellar area, these are all NEFAR type stuff. So I'm going to scroll down just so I don't confuse you, because they have specific forms to the NEFAR contracts. And that's where, for the people in Jacksonville, that's where you would find your stuff is is going to look like this basically, but you won't see our stuff. So we'll just stick with the Stellar stuff for now. But in here, these are Florida Realtor forms basically. So it's not necessarily Stellar. This is just Florida Realtor forms. We'll just stick to those, I guess. We got the exclusive brokerage listing agreement. So I can check that in case that's the type of listing agreement I want to do. I can also say, I'll stay away from commercial because we're going to do residential, right? So we do exclusive brokerage listing agreement. The exclusive right of sale listing agreement, consent to transition into transaction broker. Basically, that one has the broker relationship built into it on a listing agreement, which is great. Then there's no brokerage. There's single agent and there's transaction broker. So depending on how you're going to represent them, those might be an option for you. I usually do the consent to transition to transaction broker. However, I will add the no brokerage in case. No, actually, I will not do a no brokerage. I won't do a no brokerage. What I will do, though, is a limited service listing agreement. So for me and my files, the exclusive brokerage listing agreement is if I want the seller to be able to have the ability to sell it themselves and cut me out of the deal, which why I don't really want that, but that's just to show you an example. That's what that would be used for. The exclusive right of sale. This is the one I always try to use myself. This one is for, it doesn't matter who sells it. I get commission because that's the right of sale listing agreement, the way it works. And then limited service listing agreement. This one is for if I'm going to do it for advertising purposes only for the seller. I'm going to load it in the MLS. I'm going to do a no brokerage relationship with them, but I'm loading it in there for advertising purposes only. They pay me a fee to load it in there, and that's the service they get. And I'm hands off after that. And the buyer's agents need to call the seller directly. When you do that, make sure you only put the seller's phone number in the showing time, under the showing time button. So when they hit the showing time for the instructions, that's the only place you can put it. You cannot put the phone number in the realtor private remarks or the public remarks. So make sure you do not do that. That's an MLS violation. I don't need modification right now. Vacant land, I'm going to just keep that separate. Short sale addendum, perhaps. That's not very prevalent right now, but in case I come across it, I've got it ready and it's in there. So then I just go to the top here and I click on add to forms package. Hit save. That's going to load those in there. And I can load whatever I want. I can get rid of stuff later. It doesn't really matter. But I'm going to create this package now. So let's do the rest of them. So we got our listing agreement. We've got I'm just going to look for the FHR stuff real quick. We've got the addendum to listing agreement. I know that's on the checklist. I might as well grab the checklist and throw it in there in case I need to reference it later. It's going to be in there. So I can just grab residential listing agreement checklist. That's going to be the contract. I don't need that right now. Hold harmless, no. Legal, no. Nope. Not getting paid yet. Got to sell it. And the seller's net sheet. So you can do one of two things. This Future Home seller's net sheet does do auto calculations for you, but you can also, as an alternative, you can have your title company work up a net sheet for you when you take the listing and have your client sign that. So that's fine as well. So either way, just have to have a net sheet of some sort, either from the title company or you create one yourself and have them sign that. Add those in. I'm going to add some more forms. Maybe it has an HOA. So I'm going to grab that. Now the HOA, this is based on the contract, and I like the Florida bar contract, Florida Realtors Florida bar contract. So I'm going to grab that CR5 one. That one belongs with that. That's the contract that I'm going to hopefully be asking for. If I come across a crisp contract, I will need to add this addendum because that one goes specifically with that contract. So you got to make sure you use the right addendums when you're doing stuff. But this one, the CR5 goes with we'll just call it the FAR bar contract, but it's the Florida Realtor Florida bar contract. So I'll add that. And the reason we add that is because you're disclosing about the homeowner association. So the seller has to do that. They might as well do it now as opposed to at contract time. Just have it ready. That way you can add it to your MLS as an attachment and the buyer can the buyer's agent can download it and put it together and add it to their file with their offer that they're sending over to you. And it's ready to go. And I add some more. Condos are specific. They're different than HOAs. So I will need the seller's property disclosure for the condominium because that's different from a regular seller's disclosure for a single family home. So I'll need that and the other one in case, depending on what I need. But I'm going to put them both in there just because I don't know what I'm going to come across yet. I'll need the condominium writing for the Florida Realtor Florida bar. That is basically the equivalent. It's the condo equivalent of the HOA rider. So this one's for HOA and then this one's for condo. So we're going to add that in. And again, they have a crisp version of it. So the CRSP one. So add that. Add the forms package. CDD. In case there's a CDD, I'll have that ready. And let me just see my checklist real quick. There's a vacant land disclosure statement, but we're doing a residential sellers, so we're going to add that. I grabbed the condo one already, which was that one, so I just need the residential one. All right. I think that's it there. So we'll add the forms package. And one last one for now. We'll do the lead-based paint. But again, just keyword search, lead. So now we've got lead-based paint for the CR5. The Pamphlet is for a buyer. I'll grab the complying with lead-based paint. That is a notification from you, the realtor, Future Home Realty, to the seller, notifying them of their obligation to comply with the lead-based paint law. That's what that form's for. And that basically they fill this out, the lead-based paint disclosure itself, and then the buyers will be signing that. So those get loaded. All right. We got a pretty good package here. So if we go back, as you notice, every time I did it, I hit save to the, when I added a form at the top, you say add it, and then you hit save. So now if I just go to home, I can go back to forms packages. I'll find that package, and there's all those forms that I saved in there. So if I'm in this actual package, if you look at the far right, now you can see create transaction from this package. Very simple to do. Create transaction. You can actually use an existing transaction. That is if you pulled the MLS sheet and came in from the back direction of this, where you created a transaction from a MLS sheet and you named it, it would be in here. So you could just grab that one and it would attach this package to it with all the paperwork and autofill in anything that comes off the tax record, which is really cool. We're coming in from this direction, so we'll do this first. But we can do an address, same as the property address. You can click on that. It'll keep it the same. You can change it if you want. I like to keep it the same myself. And then now you've got your options. So you've got all forms and files, that's everything, or selected ones. I like to do selected ones because now I know what the property is. So I know if it needs something. So I can check them all and then just uncheck what I don't need. We'll just say this is not a condo. There's no HOA. It's not pre-78. It's not a CDD. Not lead-based paint. I'm not going to let them sell it themselves. I'm going to stick with that listing agreement. I need the addendum. I'll keep the checklist, the seller's net sheet. I'm not going to do a limited service listing agreement. It's not a condo again, so I don't need that disclosure, but I do need this one. And it's not a short sale. So now I've got basically these forms are all I need. I just hit save. Now I have a transaction called, what it did was it created a transaction for me called 2400 Country Trails Drive. So if I go home, if I go to active transactions, I was in it, but I'm just showing you, like, you don't have to worry about losing it. You just go to the home page at any time. It takes you back here, active transactions. There it is. It's right at the top. These are past ones. So when you click on it, it's just going to open. So it's the same stuff. We were just in here. I just went back to the home page and came back in to show you that you don't lose anything. So all this is in here. You could just open each one of these things and start filling it out. Or you can go to the content page and grab the tax information first. Content page is pretty cool. You can, when you're in here, you can search by the address of the property and grab the tax and find the tax data. Or if there was an MLS, you can put the MLS number in here and do it the same way. So those are your options. We'll just say that this is a new listing. It's not on the MLS because you're not doing a contract. When you're doing a listing, you would go through the tax record. When you're doing a contract offer, you do that through the MLS search. So we put in the address. Put the county in is required, so you got to do that. And find tax data. There it is. You hit select. And what's great when you hit select is now you look down here and you see it's filled in all the tax data. It's got the parcel, so you can't screw up on that kind of stuff. The legal description, year bill, all that. So it's hard to screw that up when you do it this way. So this is the recommended way to do it, just so you don't mess up the numbers and make mistakes that way. Now you can go through all this stuff if there's tenants and landlords and different information that you want to do it. There's also at the top, there's also, if you can put in the association fees, the listing price. So say we put the listing price in, we can add it now. Purchase price, we're not there yet because that's sale information. When you get to contract, you can change that stuff. Then you just come down, hit save information. And what's cool is it's going to add that to these forms. So if I open this, there's not going to be a lot, but it's going to autofill at least where it needs to. So it's going to have all this stuff in here with the legal description, the street address, the seller's name, all that kind of stuff. And then when I put in the sale price, it auto-filled as well. So now I just go through and fill all this stuff out. And whenever I'm done with something, I just hit save. So if I add in the broker, I can just hit save as an example, and that will save. And then when I close it, if I look at the seller's disclosure, it's going to have the address on there, so that's good. You won't be able to fill out in a seller's disclosure. You will not be able to fill out the yes, no, don't know, of course, and you don't want to because you never want to do that. The seller must do that. So what'll happen is when you put it through the e-sign session, you will these will be fillable for them. When it goes to the seller, they'll be able to check mark these. But you'll see, just notice how things like auto-filled basically. And if something's missing, like listing date or whatever, you just plug it in, or these check marks, you just go through them and then they're ready to go. The signatures will show up when you do the e-sign session as well. So you got to wait till you get to that part. Once you're done with all this though, make sure you go through each one, fill it all out. Now you're going to send it to your client. This is the e-sign session part. So if you have not paid for it, it is not free. They currently charge $72 a year for unlimited signatures, unlimited storage. That number does change every couple of years. They do add more money to it. It has to do with the licensing and the certification of it. So whatever it may be, it might be more when you're watching this video, but you would just hit this upgrade button, pay the fee, and it's well worth it. Otherwise, you do have to get hard signatures, but I highly, highly, highly suggest it, the electronic signatures, and just pay for the upgrade, get the e-sign. And then what you do is once you've paid for that, you can check mark all your files and say the stuff that you're going to send to your client. Well, you're not going to send the checklist. So you can uncheck that. We need the addendum signed. We need the contract itself signed, the listing contract. We need the net sheet signed and the property disclosure signed and filled out. So all those are going to go. So now we just do select command and we choose e-sign and we do create session. And this does take a second to load. If it doesn't pop up automatically, like mine, because the pop-up blocker, you just click here and it'll get you started. Now to go through this session, very simple. It's going to walk you through it. It's hard to mess up. Just read what you need to fill out and go, and the next button is over here. So you got the transaction name, it's going to be address of the property. I typically I just copy it. And I make the session title the same. I just do the same. Now in the email message, you're going to put whatever you want to make them, make your customer feel comfortable that it is you sending this e-sign session. So you can say, dear such and such. I'm just going to, for sake of time, I'm just going to type in something really fast. But you can go on and say, hey, this is the listing agreement that I put together. Read it over. If you got any questions, let me know. If not, sign it and send it back. So you can say whatever message you want there. Then over here, you have the signer sequencing. So you can send this to one signer at a time, in the order that you specify it, or you can send it to all of the signers at the same time. All the signers at the same time would be like if you're just dealing with one side of a deal, so the buyers. So if you have multiple buyers, or on the listing side, in our case, multiple sellers, so married folks or possibly trusts where there's many people to sign, that's where you would do all signers at once because they're all on one side of a transaction. The second one signer at a time in order, is if you have both sides of a deal, you can send it to one side first to be signed off on. And the moment they finish, it's going to automatically email it to the other person. So if you have both sides and there's no other agent involved, you may want to try that. It's a little bit of a time saver. It just goes to them before coming back to you. If you want it to come back to you first, then you can do that. And then you can send it back out again to the other side. So totally up to you. But if we're just dealing with one side, like a listing, we just do all signers at once. Including me as a signer would be in a case where I'm dealing with lead-based paint, or in this case, a listing agreement. So yes, I would include myself because there is, on the listing agreement, remember at the bottoms and of each page and at the end, we have the agent's initials and signatures, the authorized agent. So yeah, I would add myself on a listing agreement. Then I hit next. Now it's got me in there already, but I need to add somebody. So I just go to my address book. If I add a signer, that's hand typing, manually loading somebody in. You can do that. Once you do that, they'll be added to your address book, which is great. So I'm just going to use my address book right now. And I'm going to say, this is my seller. There's one other seller. Well, let's do two, just in case. Let's do these two. Okay, sorry. I want to get rid of this one. Oh, sorry. Delete. There it is. So I'm deleting the one person out of there. Okay, so now I got my sellers and myself, and I hit next. Now I got to identify them. I got to assign the roles. So the sellers are going to be the two individuals, my clients, and then I'm going to be the seller's agent. Yeah. You can add a broker if you want to. You don't need that. That's going to be, you'd send it to Bob McDougall, but I typically just say agent because everybody at Future Home Realty has full ad edit rights to their listings. So you are an authorized agent. So you signing is all that's needed on a listing agreement. Hit next. It's going to warn you, say that you got some blanks there on that previous page. You just say, yeah, no problem, because I don't have the buyers yet. Okay, now you get to the forms part, and you can put them in any order you want to. I'm going to keep them the way they are for now, but if you wanted to reorder them, you could. So I'm going to check all those, hit next. Now it's going to load all those pages. Give it a second because it's going to open up two toolbars, one on each side. There it goes. So the toolbars are everything on the left is for your client to do something. Everything on the right is for you to do something now. So these are like your markups now before you send it out. These are where you're going to ask them to do stuff. You'll notice at the bottom, the initials are already preloaded because these are forms pages. So they are ready to go. They're programmed by Form Simplicity in the system. So when you choose them, they will automatically load those. Always check them though, because if they miss something or there was a glitch, you're going to need to add it in there. And you can identify them by just hovering over them. You can see that, they're different people. Their names come up, so you know who's who. So over here, these are your options. I'm just going to show you what you can do. You can add a signature. You can add initials. You can add dates. You can add a form field for them to be able to type in something. You can do a drop down where you type in the choices and they pick which one they like. You can add check boxes, which means if you add multiple check boxes, they can mark all of them on a checkbox, but on a radio button, they can only choose one. So on a listing agreement, you're going to have all this stuff filled out prior to, so you're ready to go. But maybe on something you want them to make a choice, just so you know you have those options. You can give them the opportunity to mark it for you. The seller's disclosure, I'm going to scroll down to it real fast. You're going to see it's already ready to go. See, it's already has all of those loaded, those radio buttons. Those radio buttons, they can only choose one of the three going across. So, and when they're answering that question, they choose 1, 2, or 3 and go across. Go back to the top real quick. So the other thing too is whoever's in this area right here, that is who you're asking to do this stuff. And you can change it by using the drop down. So if I want buyer or seller 1 to initial something, these are going to be that person's initials. If I need the other one to initial, the other seller, I just change the name and bring it over again, and I got both initials. If I want to do signatures, same thing. I just grab the first one, put a signature, grab the second one, do the signature. Just know that when you do signatures, you typically have to do dates, and make sure you know which one's which. So, and they say it on it too, but make sure they correspond to the actual person, their dates and times. So you can put those in. You can do, like I said, form fields and drop downs and checkboxes and stuff. So you just click on it. You click and drag and then put it where you want to. You can always move it. You can set it wherever you want to. You can delete it by hitting the X. You can make it longer or shorter by getting on the edge of it and just drag it. I'm sorry. You got to hover over just right, but you can make it larger if you want to give them more, be able to make sure you see the name. Typically it shows it in there, so you'll see it will fit. So then over here, these are, if you forgot something, say you're proofreading this and you go through and you're like, I forgot to mark that it's occupied or not occupied. I can grab a check mark and I can just say the property is not occupied. Oops. And then when you get in, so that'll put a check mark in there for them to see. So that's permanent when I put it in there. If I want to, I don't use underline, I use highlight, but I do use strike through. That one you're going to use as well. So when somebody puts a clause in or something, say they wrote in something and you want to change it. Well, you just grab a strike through and you put it through whatever they wrote there. That's going to be on like the contract side. If they go in the additional terms and they write, hey, we want you to put a new roof on, and your seller says, no way. You can bring your strike through in, put that in, then go over here and grab each of their initials and put it next to your strike through. That's all you need to do. So just saying that they're canceling out, they're not agreeing to that. That's how you'd use a strike through. And then add text. This is just if I forgot to type something in, I can just go here, add a text box. I can click on it and start typing. I can put in whatever I want there. So, and that'll be permanent on there once I do it. So really I just go through and check the initials, check the dates, make sure that the dates and the signatures, dates and signatures. And then at the end, dates and signatures, there's mine. I'm the authorized sales associate, so I am allowed to sign that. And it'll come to me. Since I said one will come to me, one will go to the first buyer or first seller, and the other one will go to the second seller. And then when everybody's done, it'll send you an email every time somebody completes the signing process. And then once the last person does it, you'll get an email saying it's now complete and back in your form simplicity and done. So You just check it all. Just make sure that there's nothing you need to add, no signatures or initials. Make sure that there's boxes everywhere that needs to be boxes. And you'll notice that the seller's disclosure will always default to seller 1 in the first position. So the seller 1 will be filling this out. They're all based on that seller 1 position. So if you wanted, you'd have to put them in a different order if you wanted a different person to fill it out. So just know that. And they go through the whole thing. They both initial it, they both assign it, but only one of them can fill it out. That's just the way it is, for obvious reasons. But make sure whoever you want to fill it out or whoever says they're going to be filling that out is in the first position. And then after that's all said and done, all you do is you hit next and it goes to the final proofread to make sure that you can change your message at that point again if you need to. If not, you can just hit send and it'll send it out to them. And when they're done signing it, it'll come back. So I'm going to cancel this because I do not want to send this. But you get the idea. So now it's going back. I can actually get out of this one. I can go back to my home page. I can go to my active transactions. And then that's where I would look it up. When I get the notification that everyone signed it and it's complete, it's going to be down here in files. One more thing that you can do in files is add outside forms. Outside forms will be dead forms. The dead forms you will not be able to change, modify, unless you're in that e-sign session. If you take them through the e-sign session, then you can add any of that stuff that we talked about on the toolbars. You can type in, you can add the initials. So when you say you're doing a contract, you can download the seller's disclosure. Hopefully the listing agent added it as an attachment to the MLS. You can download that and you can upload it into this file here by just clicking on add files and you say upload a file. And when you browse your computer, you can say choose file. And you can find your seller's disclosure, whatever it may be. I don't know, say that's the seller's disclosure. You would hit open. It's going to load it in here. And then you can title it. You can say that this is the 456 Elm Street seller's disclosure. And then you hit upload and it's going to put it down here. I'm going to hit cancel, but it'll put it down here. And that way, when you do the e-sign session, you will be able to select. Let's actually add one just so you can see it. I'm going to do one real quick. Hey, go back. Okay. There, real property seller's disclosure. It kind of knows some things that you've typed in the past, so it gives you some examples that you can choose from, which is a time saver again. I hit upload. It's going to put it down here at the bottom. But if I want to do the e-sign session, I can do all these, take out the checklist that I don't need, and then I just check this one. And now when I do my e-sign session, that one will be added to it. So that one I will have to add the initials on the bottom of each page because, again, anything down here in the file section, down here, is going to be what I call a dead file. Like there's nothing that you can just click on and fill out. So you have to physically add those fields in the e-sign session. You can add type, you can add initials, you can add strike throughs, all that kind of stuff we went through. But when it won't auto load the initials because it doesn't really recognize it as a form because it's an outside form. So when you bring it in, it's not the forms from the actual package. Those are fillable because those are pre-programmed forms. So you're bringing them from an area of form simplicity that they're pre-programmed in, and then the outside forms are not. But you can do that. You add it in, do the e-sign session, and complete it. So one more thing I want to show you before I finish up is to do it from the MLS. So if say we have this Country Trails Drive. Let me see real quick. Okay, let me do this. Packages. Let's say, actually, I don't need that. We go to Matrix. Let's look up a listing. We'll just use this one. I want to put an offer in on this property. All I got to do is at the very top bar, there's this FS. That's Form Simplicity. So I click on it, and this is where it's going to take me in the back way to Form Simplicity. So when it loads here, this is just an important message of all the updates that have happened during the August meeting. So when it loads here, I've got this. I can say import the MLS from that. It's already preloaded. That's the address. So that means that all that stuff filled in down here. I can put in my purchase price. I can say it's going to be whatever amount. And then I'll go ahead and it's got my information, the brokerage information, because it knows who I am. You say add to transaction. So I can start a new one, or I can select an existing one. So I can say new transaction. Let's see real quick. Oh, okay. So it's going to automatically do that. So I just made that the same. I hit save. So now I've got a transaction put together. It's got the address of the property there. 0 forms though. But now I can add add the actual package. So how do I do that? Oh no, I know it. I got to go the other direction. So I know the address. It's 16934 Crawley Road. I go home. I go to my packages. I say, hey, look, this is going to be an offer. So I'm going to use the residential sales contract. I'm going to open it. I'm going to create a transaction from this, but I'm going to select that Crawley Road. So I did that. Oops, sorry. That's all I need to do. But down here, I'd say selected forms and files. I can put in whatever I want. It doesn't matter. For right now, we'll just say it all. And then we just hit save. Well, now when you go to this Crawley Road, it'll take you directly into it. All these forms and files are right there. So I can get rid of stuff too. I can always check mark stuff, and I go up to my commands. These are the options I have. I can print what I just checklist or what I just checkmarked. I can email that. I can fax that. I can delete it. I can download it. I can copy it to another transaction. I can start an e-sign session, or I can merge them together. So if I take 5 forms, I can merge them all together if I wanted to. So these are all your commands of what you do once you checkmark them. So whatever you're checkmarking, then you decide what you want to do with it, what you checkmarked. So that's as easy as it gets. Highly suggest taking more videos on this and watching it, maybe going to some live sessions. I do teach this in my Jumpstart class as well, but Form Simplicity makes your life a lot easier. So definitely give it a shot. If you've got any questions, feel free to give me a call. Here's my number. Phone, text, email, Jim Shantz. And let me know if you got any questions on it. All right. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.